What is up, YouTube? I'm Gowdite74 here, bringing you our Week 7 battle of the ABC. This week we take on Devious Ditto, or the best mod of the ABC, coach of the Devious Kongs. We are going into this game with a 3-3 record, while my opponent is going into this game with a 1-5 record. Now, as of the doing of this battle, a lot of teams in the ABC have 3 wins. I couldn't really name off who has them, but I know a lot do. And if we are able to win this game, it is going to push us up immensely and probably put us in a decent playoff spot. Not guaranteed, but a pretty decent one. But if we lose this game, then it's going to knock us down pretty hard, and it's going to be really tough to try and climb up and secure a playoff spot safely. It's definitely securable regardless of what happens in this game, but it's just so much easier if we end up winning this game. And in regards to my opponent, if he loses this game, I'm pretty sure he's just knocked out. So we're going to try and win this game. But in regards to the matchup, it actually is pretty good. But as my opponent in his name, Devious Ditto, he drafted Ditto. And I hate Ditto. Prepping for that thing is so annoying. It's probably my least favorite mod to prep for in the entire draft format. I hate it so much. But we're here. We had the draft for it. And we had to prep for it. And that's what this week's going to consist of. But regardless, I still think the matchup is pretty decent. But you guys want to know that because you don't know his team, and I'm just going to go straight up into his team. So I'm going to list off his team. His team consists of Lando I, yes, Lando I with Sheer Force, Heatran, Mega Blastoise, Florges, Amoonguss, Druddigon, Sneasel, Hariyama, Ditto, Raichu, Gothorita, and Parasect, with his Z crystals being Gracium Z and Normalium Z. So he definitely has a few options with the Gracium Z. What I expect him to bring consists of Lando I, Heatran, Mega Blastoise, Amoonguss, Sneasel, and Ditto. I just say Ditto because it's so annoying to go up against. If he doesn't bring Ditto, it's probably going to be Florges, but regardless, that's the types of mons I'm expecting him to bring. Easily the biggest threat on his team is Sneasel. Believe it or not, I'm actually more scared of Sneasel than I am of Lando or any of his top tiers. Sneasel is very scary because if he chips my team down really effectively, late game Sneasel is really scary for my team, and I do not have that many good switch-ins to it. I do have a Carbink on my team, but I'm not bringing it because it overall has a really bad matchup, and that's going to really hurt my game plan against Sneasel. But if I can knock down Sneasel, then it's not too scary. Ditto is, again, it's more annoying than anything. I will break down how I prepare for Ditto as I go through my mons, but that's really annoying. And lastly, my switch-ins into Mega Blastoise aren't really that great. Like, I have Rotom written down here, but Rotom is really not that great of a switch into Mega Blastoise overall. So it's going to be a very hard mon to defeat. Luckily, Mega Blastoise gets chipped down pretty easily, so that's kind of the game plan we have there. But Mega Blastoise is pretty scary regardless. Luckily, Devious has a great defensive matchup this week, and hopefully I'm going to try and take that to my advantage. And I say my matchup is pretty good because he has a really hard time switching into my offensive threats that I am bringing this week because a lot of his mons don't get reliable recovery. So chipping down his team is going to be relatively easy, and that's kind of the game plan, is to chip down his team before he can chip down my team and Sneasel comes in and cleans. But that is the goal for this week, and that is basically the breakdown of his team. What I am bringing this week consists of Tapu Lele, Rotom Wash, Cobalion, Cryogonal, Dhelmise, and Spiritomb. So, as always, as the first mon I'm bringing, as I just mentioned, is going to be Tapu Lele. Tapu Lele is rocking out with a Twisted Spoon with max special attack, modest nature, 220 in speed, and the rest in bulk. Moves being Taunt, Nature's Madness, Psyshock, and Hidden Power Ground. I do not have Moonblast on this set, which is kind of odd you would think, but I have that for 2 reasons. One is that if he transforms into Tapu Lele with Ditto, then my Psychic switch-ins absolutely suck. It's just Spiritomb, but I do not have Moonblast on the set, thus he cannot touch Spiritomb, and it kind of walls my own Tapu Lele, and that was the whole purpose of that. And except for Sneasel, everything that's weak to Moonblast doesn't really appreciate Psychic Spam, and his whole team doesn't really like Psychic Spam outside of, again, Sneasel, so I didn't think Moonblast was too necessary, and Sneasel's never going to be switching into a Tapu Lele hard anyway. That's just kind of dumb, unless he knows my set already. But that was the main goal for Tapu Lele. Psychic Spam is really good against his team overall. I have Taunt there for Florges if I absolutely need to, and I have HP Ground for the Heatran, because if Heatran comes, I can whittle down because it's going to get chipped, because that's how Heatran works, and HP Ground is probably going to be enough to knock it out, unless he's got like a Shuka Berry. That's something I got to be a little weary of, but again, Psychic Spam is pretty free against this team overall, and that is mainly the Tapu Lele set. Yeah, it beats a lot of his mons. Next up, we have Rotom Wash. Rotom Wash is rocking out with max HP and 192 speed with a Timid Nature, and the rest in Specialist with Def. With the Rindoberry, moves being Volt Switch, Hydro Pump, Defog, and Pain Split. I plan to use Pain Split a lot this matchup because, again, Nature's Madness on top of Lele, if he copies that, or if I just get whittled down, I can just Pain Split back up and weaken his team. Volt Switch is pretty free against his team, except for Lando, and the only time that Lando can actually remotely touch Rotom is with the Grass CMZ, which he does have, Grass CMZ Grasslant, so I can definitely scout out for that, and I have the Rindoberry to tank it anyway. But once that's gone, then Lando can't really touch me. So Volt Switch spam is still free because Lando can't be touching me, and I can just Hydro Pump that back. This is a great switch into Heatran. I can tank a Grass MZ from full because of Rindoberry again and Pain Split stuff back. It's my best switch into Blastoise, though it's not that great of a switch into Blastoise, so that's something I have to be wary of. And it's also a decent switch to Sneasel. It's okay switching to Sneasel. I don't really want to get knocked off, but if my Rindoberry is gone already and I still have high health, then it won't be that bad of a switch in overall. But Rotom's here to just mainly defensively pivot around this team. That's what Rotom's meant to do usually. And Defog is just to get rid of rocks, though rocks don't really hurt my team too much. If I really need to get rid of them, then that's going to be the case. But that is Rotom, and also switches into a few of my own mons, like Cobalion, for example. Doesn't do too much to me, but that's Rotom. Next up, we have our Cobalion. Cobalion is rocking out with max attack at 200 speed with a Jolly Nature and the rest in bulk. Moves being Stealth Rock, Swords Dance, Iron Head, and Sacred Sword. With the safety goggles, we are running that nice tech for the Spore on Amoonguss and Parasect. This is my main switch into Amoonguss and Parasect, even though, Parasect's not coming. This is here to get up rocks. I think rocks are really good against his team, and I really want to get him up because chipping down his team is going to be very crucial. I never set up Swords Dance with this thing if Ditto's around because Cobalion puts in a lot of work against my team. My switch in is Rotom, but let's say he gets up to +2 and he steals the boost. A +2 Sacred Sword is doing a lot to Rotom, and knowing Rotom is also a mon that gets chipped down a lot, I really don't want that situation being a thing. Luckily, if he is Scarf Ditto, which I did prep really accordingly for, because if he is Scarf, then he'll outspeed like my mons obviously, but if he's not Scarf, then I have my Cryogonal that outspeeds my own Cobalion by 1 point, and that is something I'm definitely going to take advantage of if he is not Scarf. But if he's Scarf, I can switch around with Iron Head and Sacred Sword and just switch around. But Cobalion's really good against his team. It's mainly here just to get rocks up, but it also switches into his Amoonguss, which is really kind of an annoying mon more than anything. It's not hard to deal with, it's just annoying. And Sacred Sword is good for Heatran and like Sneasel as well. This is good for Sneasel, but low kick does like 75% if it's like Life Orb or Band. I forget if it's Life Orb or Band. It does a lot regardless, and I need to keep Cobalion somewhat healthy if the Sneasel comes down to a late game. But outside of that, Cobalion's really good. Next up, we have our Cryogonal. Cryogonal is rocking with the Focus Sash. I put that on last second. Max Special Attack, 228 speed with the Timid Nature. Moves being Ice Beam, Freeze Dry, Hidden Power, Ground, and Recover. This is sort of a switch into Mega Blastoise. As long as he's not clicking Aura Sphere, then I'm pretty safe in the clear. Freeze Dry is a decent 2-co most of the times on Mega Blastoise, so luckily I can chip that down with Cryogonal. Cryogonal also is here to outspeed Lando unless it's Scarf, and Scarf Lando is really exploitable, so that's not that scary. This is really scary against Heatran because HP Ground is just doing like 50 at most, and just Heatran can just obliterate this thing back. So this does sort of give Heatran a free switch in. But as I had mentioned, this outspeeds my own Cobalion unless it's Scarfed Ditto. So HP Ground does a solid 50% to my own Cobalion, and that's why I EV'd the way it was supposed to be. Cryogonal is just really good against his team overall. It outspeeds a lot of things, and he's just Ice Weak in general. It also gives Florges a free switch in, but Florges isn't too scary against my team because I have like Cobalion and Lele. Don't want to take hits from Cobalion and Lele, so I wasn't too scared of that. But that is the main Cryogonal set. We're going to move on to our 5th mon of the team, which is going to be Delmise. Delmise is rocking with the Leftovers with max HP, 84 in defense, and 176 in Spit Def. Moves being Anchor Shot, Shadow Claw, Earthquake, and Synthesis. This is 1 point slower than my Spiritomb, as I'll get into in a few minutes. But Delmise has a fantastic matchup this week. It is absolutely insane how good this thing is. It walls his Druddigon unless it's banded, and that's kind of it's a possible set, but Druddigon might not even come. So just because Moonblast isn't doing too much, it's a really good switch into Lando because he does not have like Flying MZ or anything, so advantage of. And it just switches into like all of his lower tiers, like Hariyama. It walls Raichu. It's good against Gotham. It's good against like everything lower tier, and that's why I think Delmise is going to be really good this game. It's just really good against his team overall. Doesn't really help me out in the Ditto situation too much, but it's nice. And Anchor Shot's just really nice because he can't pivot around it too much, and that's something I'm going to take note of. And lastly, Amoonguss usually doesn't carry Synthesis, it just gets Regenerator, so if he wants to switch into Amoonguss and I Anchor Shot it, then I essentially just kill it off, and that's just going to be really nice for some of my mons late game. But that is going to be our Delmai set. Really important defensively this week. And lastly, we have Spiritomb. Spiritomb is coming for the second time this season, rocking out with the leftovers, max defense and almost max speed def, and 44 in speed to outspeed my own Delmais. Moves being Pursuit, Rock Tomb, Toxic, and Pain Split. This is mainly here for Ditto because it switches into my own Lele, it switches into my Delmais, it switches into Cryogonal somewhat. And it's just really good overall against everything on my team. It also is pretty good against a few of his lower tiers, like Hariyama. I can tank a hit from Sneasel relatively well at full, so that's cool because I rocked him for that thing. But that Spiritomb just mainly here to switch into my own mons a lot of the time if he does end up bringing Ditto. And then, again, to reiterate, like Hariyama. I can also Pain Split a lot of things on his team because Spiritomb doesn't have a great HP set. That's why I do not have max HP this week because Pain Split to get more recovery back and to hurt his team more. And Spiritomb is just really good overall as a nice pivot as well as Rotom because I can tank almost any one hit from a lot of members of his team. So that is going to be Spiritomb, and that is going to be the team this week. Trying to speed this up, but that was somewhat of a lengthy team builder. But I'm really excited for this team. I really like the safety goggles Cabellion. I really hope that comes into effect into the game. But we're gonna go over to Pokemon Showdown and we're gonna watch the battle. Alright, we are here at Pokemon Showdown, and he did not bring the Landorus with Sheer Force, which is absolutely insane, and he also did not bring the Mega Blastoise, but he did bring the Druddigon, and he did bring the Florges, so I had to be careful with Wish Passing. I am going to lead off with Rotom. I did originally want to lead with Tapu Lele, but I should have led off with that because switching in Rotom isn't, I mean, I can do it. I'm just going to slow Volt Switch out. It turned out well in the end. He did script me to run, which is really annoying, but it's not that big of a deal, as I'm going to be able to Pain Split some of that up a little bit later, as I can just Volt Switch out on this Amoonguss and get a free switch in into my Cobalion, because I do want to get Rocks up, because that Sneasel is very scary, and if I can limit the amount of time that stays on the field, that would be great. I do have the safety goggles on this thing, so I'm hoping he clicks Spore as he does, and that is just great, because I get a free turn to just set up Rocks. I'm going to click Iron Head a few times just to scat out to see if he actually has the HP Fire, as I'm going to click Iron Head and I flinch him. That sucks, but he does have Regenerator, as I'm going to just keep clicking Iron Head until he clicks a button on this Amoonguss just to see if he has it, which I'm expecting he will, as he is going to bust out the hidden power, so it is going to do a bit chunk of damage. I do want to keep some of this health because if Sneasel comes in with low kick, then that's kind of scary. So I'm going to go out on the top of Lele knowing I can tank any hidden power this thing wants to throw out, as he does go into the Ditto, which is, a reasonable play on a Cobalion. So now I'm going to have to switch out. He does see my moveset, so I'm going to go out on the Spiritomb, as he does make a really nice double into Florges, knowing that Spiritomb would be the play on my side, as now I'm forced to switch out into something else. I am going to go out into Delmais. I don't know why this recording goes so fast into Delmais, but whatever. I can tank the hit, and then I can fire off an Anchor Shot for free. If the Heat Train wants to come in, that's fine. It will take Rocks damage, and it's going to be unrecoverable unless it passes a Wish. I'm going to try my hardest not to prevent that. So I'm just going to keep spamming Anchor Shot until he either wants to tank it or switch into something else. As he goes out into the Amoonguss, and that's fine with me, because I can get some nice chip on this thing. It's going to do a solid 26%, and I'm not really expecting him to Synthesis. And knowing I have a decent amount of Special Bulk, I am going to stay in and just click Anchor Shot again to at least weaken this thing out a bit, because Hidden Power Fire is only going to be doing so much. As he clicks Hidden Power, and it's actually Hidden Power Ground. And that threw me off guard. I mean, I'm happy about it, but I was really not expecting it. As now I know I completely wall this thing, as long as he doesn't have Toxic and Synthesis, as he's just going to throw out the Sludge Bomb, showing he doesn't have either of those two. So that is absolutely fantastic. Delmais is going to be able to pick up a kill here on this Amoonguss. He poisoned me with Sludge Bomb, that would have sucked a lot, but I still would have picked up the kill regardless. So we are up 6-5 pretty early in this game. He is now going to go out into Heatran. I do have Earthquake, but I'm not faster, so I'm not going to stay in and risk my Delmais. It still has some good use, so I'm going to go out into Rotom here, as he just fires with the Lava Plume, and that is fine. That crit would have came into play if he clicked the Grass Z, if he even has it. I think that is a pretty offensive Heatran based on that damage, but I am going to Pain Split up here because that is pretty free, as everything on his team is pretty high health, and I can get some health back, and I can Volt out on this Florges this turn. So I am going to Volt out, and I'm going to go right back out into Delmais, I believe. Yeah, go back on the Delmais so I can Anchor Shot and do the same thing again. He throws up a Wish. Now here, I have a free turn just to click Earthquake because I can tank a Moonblast, because I do not want that Heatran receiving that Wish, as he just clicks Protect to receive it himself, so that is fine. Now, without the Wish up, I can Anchor Shot again freely, because Heatran will be catching a Wish on the switch-in. So I'm going to click Anchor Shot, as this time he goes on to Druddigon, and that, again, is fine with me, because I am Mixed Bulk. I have more speed depth than defense, but I'm still somewhat defensive, as this is Mold Breaker Druddigon, so he might be more of an offensive set. So I'm going to scout out to see what he is. I can live any one hit as he goes for a gunk shot. And that is offensive, but it's not like banded or like life orb or anything. So my Devious can tank on this Rudigan 1v1. I am going to heal up one with the synthesis. He does miss a gunk shot, which is unfortunate in the sense that like I would have been lower on health. But unless he poisoned me, then it wouldn't have really been a big deal because I could just heal. I can heal stall this out, and he's going to miss at some point regardless. As I am going to knock out Rudigan, and Devious has picked up its second kill of the game. And here comes, after I get some leftovers recovery, the big threat of the game, Sneasel. Now, I make a decision here to sack off my Devious as he clicks Icicle Crash. I am going to die to that. I do that because I can deal with the other 3 members of his team fairly easily, and Devious isn't really here for Ditto. Now I can go to Rotom to scout to see if he's Scarfed, as he does just switch out right away, telling me he might be banded or Scarfed, or I'm not sure. He might be choice into something, as I just volt out into... Fuller just comes out and I volt out into Gabalion, and now I can just get off a free Iron Head because Heatran cannot switch into this, as he's going to protect the scout at what I'm going to do and get some lefties recovery back. Fleur just has a pretty high chance of delivering this Iron Head, but it's not going to matter. It's just going to do so much damage. He can't outstall it. So he's going to go out into Ditto, which is, you know, a pretty good play on his part, as Iron Head's not going to be doing too much to my own Gabalion. But I am chipping down this Ditto pretty well since Gabalion doesn't have reliable recovery. I go out into Spiritomb expecting the Sacred Sword, but he does click the Iron Head. That was a smart move on my opponent's part. But now here I can switch back out now into Rotom, trying to figure out if this thing is Scarf. I'm pretty sure it is Scarf Ditto at this point, the way he's been playing it, but I definitely want to make sure for a fact. So I'm going to Rotom as he does switch out, so you know, there's a chance. As I'm just going to Volt Switch out again, and this is just rinse and repeat at this point, as I can get Gabalion in again for pretty much free. And I'm chipping down his team, and I can click Iron Head. And yeah, so it's just, I'm in a cycle that I'm winning, as I'm just going to straight up knock out this floor just with Iron Head this turn. And we are up 5-3 with a pretty nice momentum going. This is going to be the turn of the battle, as he clicks Knockoff and he doesn't click Low Kick, because if he had Low Kick, he probably could have knocked me out there. So I click Sacred Sword and send the Sneasel all the way to freaking Pluto, as this Sneasel is going to drop 18 times a week. And he's going to send out Ditto, and this is a little scary, because I said if Ditto gets a boost into my Gabalion, that is going to be very scary for my team. Luckily, at this point in the matchup, it's 5-2, and I have the Mons to expend. As he's going to click Iron Head, I do have Sash Enlisting, and I mentioned in the Team Builder that I am 1 point faster than my own Gabalion. And this shows right here, because this Gabalion is faster, thus it is a Scarf Ditto. And since he is Scarfed into Iron Head, I can go into Rotom. The only way he can win at this point is if he like flinches me out to death with his Iron Head. As luckily here, I do hit my Hydro Pump, which is really shocking, and I knock out this Ditto, and Rotom here is going to be able to clean up the game, as Heatran cannot take a Hydro Pump. The Jed Curse is absolutely really real, as I miss my Hydro Pump, and this Rotom cannot finish off the game, as he does have the Grass Z, and he is going to pop it, and because I'm only at 48%, I am going to die. But it's fine, because I still have a Gabalion in the back, and I also have a Tapu Lele with Hidden Power Ground, and knowing this Heatran is more offensive than anything, I'm sure Hidden Power Ground is going to knock it out, as it does. And we are going to pick up the 3-0 win against Devious Ditto and move up to a 4-3 record. So GG to Ditto. I simply think that the keys of success to the game was just good pivoting with Rotom defensively and using Gabalion offensively as well to just pressure his team, because Gabalion had a really fantastic matchup. And I really think the matchup was just heavily in my favor this entire game, so that just kind of helped me out in the advantage in the long run. But again, GG to Devious Ditto. Make sure to go check out his YouTube in the description below. It will be highlighted down there. And his perspective as well. It will be on his channel, I'm assuming tomorrow, or the day this goes up, because, you know, I'm recording this the day before. But anyway, we're going to move up to 3rd place, I believe, in the ABC, which puts us in a pretty comfortable position. Next week, we take on Obo, coach of the Indianapolis Incineroars. He's also not having a great hot season, but he has a thick team. He's got a pretty thick team. He's got, like, Megalodios and, like, Celesteela and stuff like that. But that's going to be next week. Thank you all for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please leave a like. If you like Pokemon Draft League content, consider subscribing to the channel. I'm head out here, guys. Have a fantastic day, YouTube.